So today is the first day in the trial of the underwear bomber, Umar Farouk Abdulmutallab. This is the young Nigerian guy who tried to set off an explosive device in his underwear on a flight from Amsterdam to Detroit on Christmas Day 2009. Now I think it's a good time to remind ourselves of some of the key facts in this case, facts which aren't often reported in the mainstream media because they're highly embarrassing to the US authorities who want to keep them quiet. The main fact being that Abdulmutallab was well known to US intelligence, he was being closely monitored by them, and he was actually allowed to board that flight and fly to the US because he was under surveillance. This was admitted in a hearing to the House Homeland Security Committee when Undersecretary of State for Management Patrick F. Kennedy was questioned, and he admitted that the US State Department were alarmed by Abdulmutallab after receiving reports from his own father. His father is or was a wealthy banker in Nigeria who had become concerned about his son's behavior. His son was in Yemen and he believed he was receiving terrorist training there. So he'd gone to the US Embassy in Nigeria, spoken to a US state official and a CIA representative and told them, look, I'm worried about my son. They then reported that back to the US State Department. The US State Department had approached an unnamed intelligence agency to request that his visa be revoked. Apparently this is standard procedure when they want to revoke a visa. They do approach the intelligence community first. The intelligence agency had basically said, no, we're actually monitoring this guy, we've got him under close surveillance, we don't want him to be aware of this, so don't revoke his visa. They wanted him to be allowed to travel so they could carry on their surveillance, because Abdulmutallab was believed to be part of a bigger plot, and arresting him would obviously have jeopardized the chances of the intelligence agency getting their hands on, bigger players in this plot. So the intelligence agency had said, no, don't revoke his visa. They were monitoring him. They had allowed him to board that flight to the US as part of this surveillance. So they're responsible basically for Abdulmutallab having boarded that flight and having had the opportunity to try and detonate this explosive device in his underwear. And this very much ties in with other evidence from the day of the attempted bombing. We have, of course, the highly credible testimony from the lawyer Kurt Haskell and his wife, who were witness to Abdulmutallab being helped through passport control when he was about to board the plane. Abdulmutallab was seen with a smartly dressed Indian-looking man who said to the guy at passport control, because Abdulmutallab didn't have a passport, but this smartly dressed man had said, this guy's from Sudan, he doesn't have a passport, but we need to get him on this flight. We do this all the time. Also, a guy was seen filming Abdulmutallab on the flight itself. The suggestion obviously being that this was another intelligence operative who was keeping tabs on Abdulmutallab. So it'll be interesting to see what happens during this trial anyway. Abdulmutallab is actually representing himself. So yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what information comes out. But just a reminder that US intelligence were well aware of this guy. They allowed him to board the plane, and you can find links to all of this in the info box below. Cheers.